start. Comrades, welcome to episode 11 of the Quamfy Show. Today, Tim and I are going to talk about some FUD that was posted in the Dutch group. We're going to translate that. We're going to address that for a bit because we also know the sentiment is somewhat prevalent in our communities. So we're going to have a stab at that. We're going to look at the previous episode where we were talking to Hungarian. We spoke about Coinbase, alleged utility, a bunch of other topics. We're going to fly through that for a bit. And Greg Lunt, 27 at Twitter, made a magnificent thread on ODAP, the Open Digital Asset Protocol, which is a collaboration between MIT and Quant Network. And we're going to go through that and see what there is to be learned. And we're going to start as usual by looking at last week and how Tim and his life are currently.
Hey everyone. Really glad to be back on the show. I'm looking back at a magnificent week. Last episode with Hungarian really went perfectly, if you ask me. It was a brilliant episode. Many new listeners, many new viewers, also in YouTube. So be welcome. You will now have to do it with me and Jarno again. No, but it was a fantastic episode, really. We really managed to cover a lot of stuff with Hungarian Horntail. The pace was very, very high. We had a timestamp for the first time, so you can easily look everything up. And I will be doing that now again.
Yeah.
And life is good. Yeah, nice weather. Everything is just great, I guess. Just a bit of a itchy throat, but that's all.
Yeah.
How's your life, Jarno?
Yeah, pretty well, man. Pretty well. I really enjoyed the episode as well last week with Hungarian. As you guys know, I am pretty belt fed, as they can say in the US. Hungarian is belt fed as well. And man, can that man talk? Hungarian, if you hear this, if you're seeing this, thank you again for being on the show. It was amazing. Again, man, we'd love to have you again another time. Other guests are in the works. We are approaching people to come and chat with us, together with us. I think it's a really interesting formula. And I'm really happy for Tim that he is actually making notes with the timestamps and stuff. Previous videos I did from the top of my head, skimming through the video about certain topics. It was way more broad, and Tim right now is doing the hard work, all the notarizations and stuff. So besides keeping me honest, checking my math, and making sure we're on topic, he's now also doing the administrative work, which is amazing. I could not do that, and I would not do that. So that's great. Teamwork between Tim and I is getting a lot better.
Yeah. It is, and we are also working now on our social media game, getting snippets out of previous episodes. Greg actually got a part from the last episode that he published on Twitter, and it was Hungarian talking about the 10D chess game of Gilbert, and that's a great idea. That's something we should do too. So we're working on that now, and we will post snippets of these episodes on Twitter and on other social media. So yeah, things are getting better, and our synergy between me and Jarno is increasing. And yeah, we're just making steps, and it's really great to see that.
Yeah.
So without further ado, I think Greg posted a great thread yesterday on ODAP.
Yeah. You want to kick off with that, or you want to start off with the FUD bit?
Let's start with the FUD. Yeah. Let's spice it up a little bit.
Let's start with that, Hanka.
Because, well, there's no point in listening to ODAP if it's all a scam, right?
Hold on. Let me undox myself a bit.
Yeah, so for the people who didn't listen, or they couldn't listen to the Dutch episode, for obvious reasons, this is in English. We covered something yesterday, and it was about FUD. And we are happy to talk about it again because we think it's important.
Yeah, because what we see here is a screenshot of a conversation of two community members. and this quotation is from that. Obviously, it's all anonymized. No need to unnecessarily dox people unless it's crypto Eugene. Uh, it reads, honestly, if Quant was such a promising company, why does the price keep going down for so many months, and why aren't promises kept? I'm seriously starting to think that Quant is partly a scam. They potentially use the bull market for their own private funding, and they're gonna probably use a different token for the licensing.
Yeah, so the correct translation on, yeah, probably they have used the bull market
Yeah.
as a way to fund the enterprise and
Yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
well, fair enough.
And they're gonna use a different token for the licensing. That's
Yeah,
what this last bit kind of says. Woo! It's
quite a statement.
it is, and if it were just a regular old crypto company, it could potentially be. I think. Oh yeah, when you see me swallow on video, and it looks like I'm actually choking, I also have a throat infection. Tim and I have secretly been kissing now.
Yeah, well,
It's
hey,
no, we both have a throat infection, so I'm on paracetamol and stuff. So
Tragital. Yeah.
yeah, ibuprofen on my end. Anywho's, there's at least one thing that goes wrong in this man's train of thought, in my opinion, and that's the first bit, and it reads, if Quant is such, it doesn't say Quant, but I'm adding that because he means Quant. If it's such a promising company, why does the price keep going down for so many months, and why aren't promises kept? Well, Quant Network as a company and all their endeavors and the partnerships um, are not represented in the token yet, per se. I mean, utility eventually will have a significant effect on the QNT price. At least that's why we're all here. But the value of the company itself is not represented in the token. It's not a security, it's a utility token. And as long as not all the features of the utility are live, there's simply, at the moment, no price appreciation. There could be price appreciation if there was any recognition. But as we talked about in earlier episodes, and we also spoke about this with Hungarian in the last episode, we are not the target audience. Quant does not have consumer-facing products yet. They'll probably come in the future, but for now, we are not the targeted audience. So there's very little incentive for them to promote themselves to us, and then still, because it's a utility token, they are legally not allowed to simply just promote their own token and go on the Twitter and shout out, "Buy Quad, lads! It's the best token in the world!"
No,
they simply cannot do that.
No, indeed. Yeah, so that's the first issue we have there. I mean, if it was any typical crypto company, sure, I would have given you some points for that, but that's not the case. So yeah, and why are promises not kept?
I think, and I said it yesterday, I think that's because it's remote connected gateways, and I had totally missed. I probably banished it to the depths of my memory. That Gilbert has actually stated that gateways would be coming last year. There's a Telegram message going around where he typed that, something in the realm of later this year, either spring or autumn, whatever. People can run their gateways. It was pretty undeniable that he actually promised in that case gateways would be coming, but as we know, last year was a big year. That's when they got certified by Oracle, and as we know, Gilbert also elaborated on that. That was quite a bit of work getting certified by a company like that. They have over, was it 430,000 customers?
I think over 400,000 customers. Yeah.
So they want their partners and their products to be up to snuff, and getting Overledger certified for their business. It just took a lot of time. It took a lot of efforts from the team. They probably had some polishing to do. They had some agreements to get to, and in my mind, it's then logical, it makes sense that gateways are not a priority, because when you get on Oracle's marketplace, same as when you get on the Play Store or when you get on the App Store, doors open and you get exposure to many more entities that you hadn't had exposure to before. Maybe it becomes even more consumer facing. It's obviously still B2B, because generally businesses work with Oracle solutions, but still there's probably higher demand, and you want to meet that demand first, because the gateways serve a purpose for them. Gateways for us are just a quote unquote cash machine.
Yeah, they're just a tool to make money.
Yeah. And for the company, they're not. They are to realize the decentralization. They are to create API gateways, so that ecosystems can connect to other ecosystems through MDAPs and stuff. We're going to look at that a little bit later on in Greg Lunt's monster thread. It's going to be freaking amazing. But the gateways need to serve a purpose, and the purpose is connecting ecosystems, connecting networks with other networks, and decentralize so that there are fewer points of failure and all that stuff. As long as that's not needed, why would you then take on the burden of launching gateways? Because it's going to require resources. It's going to require personnel to help all the degens. It's going to require personnel to keep everything up to date. It's going to be a ton of work, and that's okay, but it needs to be functional and warranted, and obviously right now it's not. Also, right now we are in the QRC 20 tiered system upgrading, so to speak, meaning that QRC 20 wasn't really spoken of last year, is in the cards right now. Right now we are on testnet for tier 2 from top of my head.
Yeah, that's
so
correct.
Tier 3, tier 4 are not even on testnet, let alone on mainnet. Took an average of 4 weeks to get one tier onto mainnet, something like that.
Yeah.
So that needs to happen. That needs to take place. And there was this other thing, and I forget what it was, Tim.
I think it might be the theory of Luke in the crypto coin.
Oh yeah, the tokens. The tokens. There's this theory going on that CryptoCoin indeed had. So that's Luke. He also has a YouTube channel with Ghost. Description YouTube. You can find them. And he apparently said that he thinks it's a possibility. It's a lot of buts if you hear correctly. That the team might want to get rid of all the tokens that are in their company expense wallet, so they can start with a clean slate. So when the price goes up, they are not dumping, and also they can just start with a clean slate and then begin market making, buying. Also, if they sell all their tokens now, this is all speculation, they have a very fat war chest, and with that war chest, and this is then my theory, they could sustain quote unquote market making for a longer period of time to help obfuscate licensing and transaction costs. So token buying. There were already people speculating, oh, if that were licenses based on a Hungarian video, if that were licenses being bought in September, then they need to be renewed in September. So September we're going to have a pump again. So that will be extra liquidity, or that will be a good time to pump, or whatever. And that's obviously very undesirable for a legitimate company as Quant, because then they're going to be accused of not market making, but market manipulating, and potentially, even worse, insider trading, etc.
But it remains interesting how this mechanism works on Coinbase. In the Dutch video, well, that was published on Wednesday. You said at some point that for whatever reason, the Coinbase custody, at least the market maker there, decided to just fuck it and just go for it.
Yeah.
It was literally like, okay, screw it. We're just gonna buy it. That was at least your theory.
Yeah,
we're not sure how that works. Yeah. So that would indeed be a counter argument to the idea that they are trying to do it as unnoticeable as possible. But we'll have to see how this plays out. It's all pure speculation. Once again, we're not sure. Nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, but we digressed a little bit from the initial question: is why aren't promises kept? I think he means the gateways not being community gateways quite yet. Besides that, I'm not sure. I don't see it. I don't feel it. I am also I'm not in it for the tech, but I'm not here for a quick cash grab. And regardless of what happens with price, I think 3/4 of my tokens will not be sold within the next 5 years.
Well, I'm here for a long-term serious investment. That's what I'm here for. And I'm also here for the tech because, well, the tech is going to grant us that investment, right?
Yeah, it's going to produce an amount of value that's never been seen, I think.
Yeah, and also the tech is going to allow us to stake in a gateway. So we're partly here for the tech too. Then to get back to the argument here provided. So he says, well, I'm seriously starting to think that QNT is a scam.
Yeah, partly a scam, yeah.
Yeah, it's partly a scam, yeah. That's just so mind-boggling to me. So that would imply, especially when you look at the part where he kind of elaborates on that statement, he says, well, maybe they have used the bull markets as a way to fund the company. That's so interesting, because if that would be the case, why would QNT have been issued by Quant in April, May 2018? That was a bear market. That was a moment that you didn't want to be in the cryptocurrency space, because everything was going to zero pretty much. We had altcoins going minus 99% back in those days. And QNT was still issued by Quant Network. In fact, during the ICO, they only minted, what was it, 23 million tokens out of 46 million. See, I don't think. Here we go with our maths again.
Yeah, no, it was something like that.
Yeah, to make matters worse than the total, well, division of amount of QNT that was being divided between us holders and investors and the team was so unevenly divided that they decided to burn 9 million QNT and send that to a smart contract that they can't access. That's the burn wallet. So if that happens, why do you claim that the team is using the bull market as a way of funding? Well, they have been doing the ICO during a crypto winter, and they have been continuously selling all the time, right? So they did it at $1, they did it at $4, they did it at $40, they did it at $100. They've been doing it at $400. And then you claim that they're using the bull market. Well, they've also been selling all the way down, because somewhere in 2019, QNT went up from, well, $1 all the way to 15. That was the time that Scott Pratt said, "Looks like a fucking pump and dump to me." Sorry for the accent. But they've been selling after that as well. They've just been consistently selling. And why? Because it's been in the white paper.
Like that, mate.
It's all programmed, and they've been doing that consistently. So that argument just doesn't hold for me. And then the final argument is that they are probably going to use another token for the licenses.
That's just bonkers. It's not even worth discussing, debating. How the fuck would they do that? It's ridiculous. But besides that, if Gilbert would want to pump his own bags,
well, I'm sorry, but can we just? Why would it be bonkers, though? I mean, what would be the credible argument to say no? That is not going to happen.
Why would you? Be in a community, have community AMAs, and do the community engagement. Speak of community gateways. Release a token in 2018. Burn a bunch of tokens. That would kind of make sense, because if you're not intending to use that initial token, that'd be a very nice gesture for a long con. If you actually want to keep that up for over 4 years. But why would you? He's even grooming us. He sent us messages a couple of times a year. Okay, guys, be patient. Be cognizant of how you communicate. We are not this, that, blah, blah. Why would you keep interacting? Why would you sell licenses? Why would you enable payment in QNT with MetaMask? Why would you enable Polkadot and all those kinds of networks and make them all interoperable with gateways? If you know that the only way to run gateways is if people with the current QNT. Gilbert has gone through lengths in a way to make sure that the QNT token gets used, from what we know.
Yeah.
So
and to add to that, they also don't really have that much QNT left anymore. They are only, well, if you listen to the last episode, you would know that they are currently at like 60k quants. 60,000 quants in the team wallet. So if you compare that to Chainlink, for example, or a Ripple, they have millions and millions and millions of dollars left, or even
billions of tokens.
Yeah.
So, but and also, I kind of think I know where they use the bull market to dump. Is because I think it was peak price when 200k tokens were sent to Binance.
Oh yeah.
Or in the beginning of the dump. The narrative was instantly, see, the team are dumping because they just sent for $2 billion worth of QNT to Binance to dump on their holders, blah, 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 blah. And everybody ate it up like cake and started reposting and screaming bloody murder. And I think from the last message I saw, and I might be wrong, please correct me in the comments, there are still over 125,000 tokens left, something like that, or 75,000, I can't remember.
Could very well be, yeah.
But that haven't been sold. So there was no dump. The team didn't dump the price. No, they sent a bunch of tokens, and that has been bouncing around between wallets for some reason, obviously not clear to us. But there was no dump. The dump was probably all the fucking retards that thought the team would dump and then dump their bags because they were scared, because they are simply illiterate. And well, let's move on from this. I think we are continuously, as a community, some people, not everybody, digging our own graves and fudding our own project and creating narratives that are detrimental to the investment, detrimental to the company, and I think it's an utter waste of time for us and for the team.
Yeah,
skepticism is good, but guys, come on.
I would like to add one thing, and that's going to be my final point about this, because we need to move on. But I think that digging your own grave might not always be the case, obviously. You need to remember that everyone on crypto Twitter and everyone on other social media, whether that is Telegram, Discord, Twitter, whatever, even Facebook, you see boomers on Facebook discussing Quant, which is funny. You see people also claiming that things are going to happen. They are creating FUD on purpose because it's in their interest to create that FUD to scare other people.
Yeah.
Because they want your QNT. They want you to believe their narrative that it's all going to zero because they can scoop up more quant. We have literally seen this in the past, this kind of manipulation, and it's still going on. So I'm not saying that you should trust Moon Boys, but don't trust those bears either, because they are usually out for your crypto. They want you to be scared.
Yeah. Don't carelessly share shit. It's like the conspiracy groups. If the narrative gets fed to you over and over and over, you're getting doubts. You're going to start to believe. And obviously, do not stay in the echo chambers alone. Feel free to look at criticism, but be so very careful that you don't act out of fear, because fear of fear is what gets you wrecked.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to share the Eugene bit, or do you want to move on?
Crypto Eugene.
I know you have it.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah.
Well,
this is worth sharing though. Let's share. Let's go for it.
Yeah, let's go. Let's hit it.
Okay. Yeah. Hashtag. Well.
Shall I read it?
Sure.
I'll read it with the Crypto Eugene voice. Eugene, you stated last year that 2022 would be a better year for Quant Network than 2021. Are we still on track for big things this year? And so far, all we have seen is depreciation in value. Regards Quant community, thousands of us eagerly await your next update. So that was Crypto Eugene and his tweet.
Rip headphone users, I hope you're not listening to this on headphones.
I'm so sorry. I really
We've probably caused a couple of car crashes all over the world.
I mean, my God, what do you want, man? Eugene, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
This is gonna be a nice snippet.
Yeah,
now I know why he blocked me.
No. Yeah, sorry.
Verdian, you stated last year that 2022 would be a better year for Quant Network than 2021. Are we still on track for big things this year? As so far, all we have seen is depreciation in value. Regards Quant community, thousands of us eagerly await your next update. He kind of did his best to be polite, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of polite, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, don't do this. It's just not the way to communicate. Not a big fan of him.
Yes.
And sure, he definitely speaks on behalf of us in the sense that we all expect big news, but he doesn't speak on behalf of us in the way he does it. I think that must be a clear distinction there. Yeah. I'm still laughing at Jarno.
No, it's also the tagging of the entities and the entitlement that comes with, in my opinion, the way he calls out people that he simply hasn't played marbles with, and there's no need to deify. Is that a word? Deify? Yeah. To give someone a god status, and I know that Gilbert kind of has that for some people. I mean, I respect the hell out of him, but I respect his time and I respect his efforts and I respect the way he wishes to communicate and how he wishes to run his company. And this is somewhat of a eloquent request in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, 2022, to be fair, is still long.
And let's just face it, people. If you join a company,
he posted messages before, where the way he simply called out and spoke to not only Gil but also other people, simply didn't show any respect for the status that man has, and the way he uses his Twitter, because he uses his Twitter to communicate to business, also obviously to people like us. but it's more bound to simply scare him away and to turn off comments, put his head in the sand, than to call him out and let him actually do his thing. And oh well, Tim.
Yeah. Well, I said if you actually join a company or a government and you start working there, you start noticing what their timelines are. I'm currently don't want to dox myself too much, but I'm currently working in a certain department where all the timelines of certain projects are just 5 years. Oh yeah, we're going to do that in 2026, and nobody bats an eye because that's just the way it is. And we in crypto expect everything tomorrow. That's just not how reality works. Things will take time.
If done right, and if done legit.
Yeah. Okay. Next thing. Are we going to move towards Greg?
Yeah.
Is threat or is there anything else we want to put in between?
Let's go there.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
Here we go. All right. So I get my nasty face out of the way. This is Twitter, and Greg Lunt, community member. I believe his background is marketing. So he's good in research, good at creating threads. He put a lot of work into this, in my opinion.
He's also criminally undervalued on Twitter. I think he only has 2,200 followers.
Only. Okay. Yeah. That's not much for.
It's criminally undervalued. Follow this man, people. Come on.
Yeah, I think, Greg, if you hear this, I think you create value far beyond only QNT. I think there's a lot to learn. I appreciate very much the effort you put into creating this, the way you use your references and the resources and the snippets you create. It all takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of love for this community. So definitely keep it up. And if you hear this, we'd love to have you on the show. I'll approach you personally next couple of days, I think. Maybe we can have a chat here. That'd be freaking amazing. Let's go.
Yeah, sure.
First tweet. Welcome to Operation ODAP, a Twitter mini-series examining one of the most important under-the-radar protocols being developed in the world today. Thread. The following thread uses short video clips to illustrate ODAP's technical concepts, adoption, and overall objectives. Let me share sound. What we see here is the world with, what did I say yesterday? Electrons, neutrons, protons circling it in a way, kind of like its communication.
You said the exact same thing the last time.
Exactly. Next tweet. First things first. ODAP stands for Open Digital Asset Protocol. In order to understand ODAP and what it's attempting to accomplish, let's take a brief look at one of the protocols that runs the internet today. Its name is Border Gateway Protocol, or BGP in short. BGP is a routing protocol for the internet. Much like the post office processes mail, BGP picks the most efficient routes for delivering internet traffic. Simply put, BGP is a set of rules and procedures that helps internet networks communicate and exchange information. Then there is draw an image. And it kind of also looks like molecules and atoms, but it represents networks. You see a big black dot in the middle, and then you see a bunch of lines going to black circles with white in the middle, and they are connected with lines to other clusters. So in total, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 networks all connected. That represents the internet, a network of networks. The next tweet reads, before BGP, different internet systems had trouble routing data between each other properly. Thomas Harjono, co-creator of ODAP, explains how the current fragmentation of blockchain networks reminds him of the early days of the internet. Gotta play the video.
The internet design of the 80s and 90s also faced the same dilemmas. We had local area networks, LANs, that employed specific data packet technology. And so there's a thing called border gateway protocol that are used in the internet today. So we're revisiting the same architecture for the purposes of blockchain network interoperability and crypto.
Yeah, I think this is pretty clear for English speakers, right? No need to deep dive too much in this.
We could hear you say audio okay through the video, but it was okay.
Rather than just exchanging information like the internet does through BGP, ODAP allows for networks to find and transfer digital assets. This critical ingredient will help us migrate from Web 2 to Web 3. From the Internet of Information, so that's the current internet, to the Internet of Value. And that's where it gets interesting, it's because in the current internet, Tim and I are right now a network of sorts, and we're just sending bits and bytes to one another. It's not necessarily value. If you look at the...
I think it's a great value, the Quamfy show.
Definitely. Now, but if I would send one QNT, Tim, I'm going to send you one QNT. I give you one QNT. I have now said to Tim that I'm sending him one QNT, but I haven't transferred any value. I mean, I said on this video I would send Tim one QNT.
Are you sending one QNT? Oh, that's a promise.
Well,
Call.
You could have just said no. Well, we'll get this sorted after the show. But this is a good example of the internet, and you simply cannot trust me because I'm a little bit of a cunt, so I ain't sending you shit. No, demonetized again. But if I open up my MetaMask and I ask Tim for his wallet address, then I can send him one QNT. And it goes over the Ethereum network, so it'll probably take 23 days, and the cost probably 7,500 ETH to send it. But that would be a value transfer, and that would kind of be a Web3 thing, being the MetaMask. If you're on an exchange, I gave that example yesterday as well. The same happens as in my first example for Web2. I love Coin Metro, so I'm going to give a Coin Metro example. If I buy a QNT for Coin Metro from Coin Metro or from another user, they are simply gonna grab a post-it and grab some pencil, and they're just gonna scratch it away for Tim, and they're gonna put it on my end, or the other way around. They're just eliminating it from me, and then they're putting it on Tim's tab. But nothing changes. It's just an internal thing. And if they decide to grab an eraser, I'm showing a pencil eraser right now, and they just erase everything, then it'll be gone. It will still be in their position. Things change when I'm gonna take everything off the exchange. So all the tokens held by an exchange are owned by the exchange, and internal transactions are kind of like the Web2 example, until you're going to grab it off the exchange, and then it's going to be a Web3 kind of thing, because you're going to be transferring value from one end to the other end. And what becomes a problem there is still trust and well, a bunch of other stuff there. Going to get into that later. Did I kind of nail that, Tim, or ish?
Yeah.
Networks that connect to ODAP do so through something called an API gateway. Gateways sit in front of networks and translate their contents into a standard common language. This framework allows ODAP networks to easily communicate and share assets with one another. Thomas is going to tell a story about that.
You have gateway G1 in front of blockchain B1. You have gateway G2 in front of blockchain B2. So G1 is paired with G2. The design principle is that G2 does not need to know the interior constructions and designs and resources and addresses of blockchain B1 and vice versa. So you want to hide it. And that is to promote scalability. The internet today scales beautifully because each network is opaque to the other. It only shares minimum information about routes through the BGP routing protocol. So we're using that between G1 and G2.
Makes sense, right? Yeah. Right now, blockchains are primarily exchanging assets using third parties. This might be a centralized exchange like Coinbase or a bridging service like Wormhole. API gateways remove the need for third parties and allow direct connections between networks. Thomas.
Right now, what we have is really the top diagram. When you want to move assets, you actually have to transfer the asset to a mediating entity, and they will forward it to the next person in the network. So it creates this dependency on this entity. It goes against everything that decentralized technology is supposed to be. So what we want is the ability in the bottom there to have a gateway talk to another gateway in a direct, secure, and atomic manner over this network of networks.
Yeah, so this is also kind of what I spoke about earlier. Now let's not go there. Let's move on. ODAP strips networks down to their simplest data formats, bits and bytes. While this function is beneficial, it only accomplishes one thing, creating a common language. Additional instructions are still required for networks to know exactly what to do with its assets.
The ODAP layer is just bits and bytes. It shouldn't know anything about the economic value. That's at some other layer above it. The common context in this gateway is ODAP, but ODAP on its own is insufficient. You need all this other stuff that addresses the particular scenario or use case.
And so this is interesting. And this is for me, and maybe I am misunderstanding, but this is for me a very good argument why gateways and gateway operators will be able to transfer all the data.
Yeah.
We could very well have a gateway without too many blockchain connections that can simply just verify transaction hashes for SIA. I mean, we live in the Netherlands. Netherlands is well, eminently positioned geographically. I mean, we're in between the UK, we're Germany, and the routes up to Russia, but we're also from on the route from Italy to England, and for that we cross France and Belgium. I don't know. I'm just geographically drawing lines right now, but to me it makes kind of sense that if you want to send data from A to B, you want that to be the quickest route, and that's generally a straight line.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to tap as many gateways as realistically needed for optimal security and decentralization.
Yeah.
So we know in a way that things are going to be game theorized. So you're going to have geographical filters. You're going to have your stake that's going to be a part of it. You're going to have the status of your gateway, etc. But it's all going to be a factor on how much traffic you're going to receive. But you can simply receive all the traffic because, just like Thomas said, everything that happens on ODAP and goes through API gateways, people don't have to know what happens within the networks. The gateways simply grant you access to the network. It's like a toll booth. They have no clue if you're in the Ruhr area or if you're in the Rotterdam harbor area. The gateway doesn't know. It just passes on a message, and it gets paid for doing it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I know this is about ODAP and OVN. are two very different things, because
Mhm.
OVN is technically also, when it's part of ODAP, its own ecosystem, and it's a ginormous ecosystem because it is built up out of tons of little networks or even ecosystems. So, but it's still going to be its own ecosystem, and although
Yeah, but
it's
it
going to be really,
communicates with everything outside that through that common language, and that
Yeah.
is what is ODAP is all about.
yes, ODAP is going to be a yeah, that's going to be a quote unquote standard.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe something like a programming language, like what is it? HTML?
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't want to go there. I'm not
No.
that technical. Sorry.
No, it's also not the part of my brain that really works. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know in the comments, and we're gonna do our best to explain. Or we're gonna get Greg here, and he can elaborate. Now,
Yeah, or someone who is technical will join us.
let's call
eventually.
Thomas.
Yeah, let's call him. I think.
The next tweet. See the interoperability layers image below. Now, the first layer reads. Okay, I opened the image and it has 4 columns in a way, and 4 rows. And the first row says legal interoperability. Then it says standards next to it, binding transfers, regulations and laws. Then you got the organizational interoperability. Sorry, that consists of the agreements, cooperation protocols, and common goals. Underneath that is semantic interoperability, talking about conventions, data and assets transfers, and protocols. And underneath at the bottom is the technical interoperability, and they're talking about interfaces, payload formats, and protocols being communications data formats.
Yeah.
The technical allows data to move across systems, ODAP. Semantic makes ownership changes to the ledgers. Organizational deals with terms and contracts. Legal assures the validity of the participants and the assets. He's going to elaborate a little bit more in the next tweet. Depending on the use case or application, all interoperability layers must be thought through. ODAP covers technical interoperability, but a business, for example, may want to implement legal frameworks like Know Your Customer, KYC, or Anti-Money Laundering, AML. Thomas has something to say about that.
When you begin addressing specific use cases, then certain other layers have to come into play. You can't cram in everything into one layer. You need to figure out your layered architecture up and down and say which section goes where. When these two gateways begin to open connection and eventually execute ODAP, they need to find out who these guys are. Who is responsible legally for operating that gateway? Things need to happen first at the legal layer before we can actually move assets. And the reason is because when you're moving asset, unlike the internet, it's not just moving bytes, you're moving economic value.
Tim, do you think this requires more examples and more elaboration? No?
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. I said it just boils down to the fact that whatever we do, we need to think of all these layers of interoperability. And it will really depend per use case what becomes relevant. I think we should just summarize it there. And we can give all kinds of examples, but it just really goes down to what kind of use case do you have, what do you want to interoperate, and then the various levels and dimensions of operability become relevant depending on the use case.
Yeah.
That's just what he says.
Yeah, and what I also took away from this is that trust is really important. And I think because we are all obviously in crypto and a lot of people are decentralization maxis and anonymity maxis, if you hear what they say, there's always going to be a degree of know your customer. And as you know, if you want to run a gateway for Quant Network or on the OVN, you're going to be needing to doing at least some KYC, because you're transferring value, but you're also receiving value for the service that you're providing. And obviously that can be different for other companies, but reputation will become a part of this. I mean, it's not what they said, but it's just my brain now reading between the lines. There will be an online reputation, and just being anonymous per se, I think it's not realistic.
No, it isn't. No, you will always have some kind of degree of being related to something. You can't maximize one direction or the other. Next point. We were I think you scrolled down accidentally.
No, I didn't.
Weren't we talking about bridges?
Oh. And I scrolled down on purposely, but wrongfully.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bridges are another type of technical interoperability used for asset transfers. Unfortunately, DeFi bridges have suffered over 1 billion in hacks in the last 8 months alone. The good news is that ODAP gateways can be used to give these bridges additional resiliency.
If you have an entity providing bridge services, it in fact could implement the gateway function within its network. I do hope that the bridging community begins to look at the need to standardize the endpoints and the actual bytes going across the bridges. For your own security, the whole bridging concept is a richer construct that wraps around the gateways. In fact, one or more gateways will be needed that implements this ODAP commitment.
Quant's head of innovation, Dr. Luke Riley, also believes that gateways help add security to bridging systems. In this clip, Luke discusses how DLT relayers, the broader category for bridges, and oracles can both benefit from implementing API gateways.
We should, for resilience purposes, add API gateways when we operate around DLT relays. If we have a user on the right-hand side here, for example, and they want to connect to the DLT relay, but also a separate DLN, they should really be going through API gateways to get the resilience it can offer, because a DLT API gateway can connect on the back end to multiple nodes. So it has a lot more resilience than just building your application off one node. And like in the DLT relayers slide, API gateways were used for resilience purposes for the Oracle interoperability category, breaking the one-to-one connection between the off-chain component and the on-chain node.
This is way beyond my technical comprehension to
Same.
To elaborate on further. I think we're just gonna have to accept this for how they presented it, and move on to the next tweet. Quant Network, MIT, and others are working to publish ODAP through the Internet Engineering Task Force, the IETF, the same group responsible for the TCP/IP. So that's the internet, the BGP, that's what we discussed earlier, and other major internet protocols. Quant CEO Gilbert Verdian recounts how this game-changing protocol was spawned.
So I've always had an idea of creating an internet protocol for money. Coincidentally, I've been thinking about it, and I spoke at an event, and one of the MIT people spoke at the same event. I just realized he gets it, and MIT understand where this is all heading. And I approached them. I said, look, I've got this idea. We need to create a protocol that can allow the seamless move of digital assets between different networks and different gateways, an open digital asset protocol that anyone can implement and use. And they agreed. So we've got the US government involved, the Internet Engineering Task Force. They're the ones that endorsed and enabled TCP/IP to happen. They're the ones that basically created the protocols that run the internet. There's the likes of Juniper and Intel part of it. We've got payment companies interested in it. We've got telecoms companies interested in it. So it started to be a big thing. And what we're looking to do is to create that internet scale protocol to move digital assets. And at the core level, how does that one network have a gateway to understand and find resources to another network? And so that's what we're tackling, which is much larger.
I think it's fascinating that this semi-scam, this half rug pull with the shady ethics, poor promises,
Bull market funding.
Yeah, is still getting the ear of of MIT. I know MIT is just a tiny little stupid dumbass hick university in the United States.
I think it's in the top 10 party colleges in the US, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay,
And
yeah.
obviously the same goes for that shit.
I think
show
they
of a
recorded
government across
American
the
Pie
ocean.
there.
Huh?
American Pie was recorded there, right?
Yeah. And the U.S. government is obviously
Yeah.
Now I think it's astounding that one the locations where Gilbert can actually do his little chats, and then he thinks that MIT gets it, just starts a conversation, and gets on their good side apparently, and gets to work with them hand in hand. And this is not just a simple quote. I mean, there's a GitHub, and there's a lot of verification going both ends, how they are creating ODAP. Hearing this, seeing this, Thomas Jarno and Gilbert, they're buddies. This is all happening. This is not some CCIP or some joke or some sort of thing that might potentially happen. I mean, Gilbert said in this clip, MIT sees where this is going, and they saw where it went when they converted ARPANET into the internet, because that's how it started. It was a little network between the Ministry of Defense and I believe NASA, something like that, that was created by MIT. These guys know. And even, and here comes the best part that I just realized, even if this is not the best solution, even if this is not the best way to transfer data, nobody's gonna fucking argue with MIT and the Federal Reserve and the United States. And the US and MIT know that, and Gilbert knows that as well. So they're just building, and they're gonna be the first. And they're going to be the first, and there's going to be a network, and there's going to be huge demand, because all the stuff we talked about before, it's a problem. There's no trust, there's no security, there's no code verification. Everything is just rolling through the desert of the wild west, and trains are getting robbed, and mail carriages are getting robbed. I mean, that's the analogy we're in right now. And the only thing to solve that, the only way to solve that, is by getting some form of standard, some form of common language and agreement, and getting security and trust at least codified, so that we don't have to trust each other. And Gilbert is at the forefront of it, and the demand is going to be so high that even if there's a better solution, then at least there are 4 years ahead. Ish.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm just thinking about this because, well, yeah, what you say makes a lot of sense, right? So this might not become the best standard there is. However, we've seen that in the past too, and after that, sure, revolutions take place, and we see network improvements, but they take time, and you can just gradually scale with that. So even if they don't have the best solution right now, Quant will still be a dominant player in this current solution.
Yeah.
And once they move towards something else, to another standard or whatever, Quant will still be in the center of attention, probably, to realize that in whatever form. Okay, next tweet.
Yeah, but before that, what's also interesting is because ODAP is not going to be, sorry, is not going to be requiring QNT tokens. OVN will not function without the QNT token.
Yeah.
ODAP will be an open digital asset protocol, kind of like the internet. You can just plug in, turn it on, and do whatever you want. But how many companies right now have API gateways and secure gateways and remote connected gateways and this type of infrastructure? How many people are looking in this direction and have it programmed and have it running, at least on the enterprise side, and have a community that is already well, grinding their knuckles, ready to put some money behind it. The first gateways are bound to going to be a lot of quant gateways, I think. Yeah. Let's move on indeed. Gilbert founded the Technical Committee 307, an ISO committee with 62 member countries standardizing blockchain and DLT technology around the globe. ODAP works with TC 307 frameworks, maintaining regulatory compliance when moving digital assets across jurisdictions.
Yep.
And this is also interesting, and that's why ISO is so important, because you're crossing jurisdictions. And I'm going to come chiming in here with my seatbelt analogy. If you want to produce a car, then you need to adhere to ISO standards, because that is what pretty much every country in the world abides by. And you cannot simply say, look, this beautiful cable is our seatbelt. We're going to put this in our car and children will be safe. Because when you want to use this, this is a USB charging cable for the people not watching. If you're going to bring a car here in the Netherlands and you say, yeah, no, we just tie the kids up with this USB cable, we just put them around their necks. And then when the car crashes, this keeps them mostly in the car. it just doesn't work. I mean, it hasn't been tested, isn't trusted, blah blah blah. ISOs do that. ISOs make sure that it works, and because so many people are in those ISOs, so many countries are, you can use it across jurisdictions because everybody agreed that it's safe and that it works. It's not just some flimsy, shitty USB cable that you tie your children with to the car. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 separate ODAP drafts were cited in a recent interoperability report written by Visa. That's the credit card company. Along with Thomas Harjono, notice the name Martin Hargraves. Sorry, I tried. In the references, he is the Chief Product Officer at Quant. There's a link. Open Greg Lunt at Greg Lunt 27 thread. There's links here. There's links to everything. You're a hero. It reads, and it's highlighted here in the bottom, Thomas Harjono, Martin Hargreaves, Ned Smith, an interoperability architecture for blockchain gateways. Then you get an HTTPS address, and it's from the IETF work in progress draft October 2020. Second citation is Martin Hargreaves, Thomas Harjono, Open Digital Asset Protocol, also IETF work in progress draft November 2020. Cited by Visa, which is bullish, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't see how it's not bullish.
Exceptionally bullish. Next one. The Hyperledger Foundation is a non-profit organization that provides many large enterprises with open source blockchain solutions. Quant became a member in 2019. In a recent blog post, Hyperledger revealed plans to add support for ODAP into 2 of their existing platforms. What you see here is a screenshot from the Hyperledger Foundation. Then you see why is interoperability needed in big letters. Next to it, it reads Hyperledger Cactus, Hyperledger Firefly, Hyperledger Labs, YUI, and Weaver. Sorry for butchering that. Highlighted in this screenshot is standardization bodies are pushing forward drafts to normalize operations across the different interoperability layers. Those working on standards include Open Digital Asset Protocol, ODAP, from IETF, the Interoperability Working Group in Digital Currency Global Initiative at ITU, the Subgroup 7, that's the ISO TC SG7 from ISO Technical Committee 307, and then the Cross-Chain Interoperability Working Group at Ethereum, Enterprise Alliance, and many others. ODAP name drop, IETF name drop. Yeah, Gilbert is involved obviously in all of them. The next screenshot that you see here reads Hyperledger Foundation future work for 2022 Q1 Hyperledger Cactus. First bullet, support for the Open Digital Asset Protocol. Bullish. And then you get 5 more points, bullet points. I'm going to ignore those. And then we're going to go to the Hyperledger Weaver, which is also a Hyperledger version. And then the third bullet reads relay module, more robustness, fault tolerance, and add
message queuing.
Add message queuing features, distribution, and load balancing make compatible with ODAP. Also interesting. Amazing finds, Greg. Amazing finds. Last week, Hyperledger also launched a new blockchain platform called Firefly and hosted a webinar to give the public a live demo. One presenter outlined how API gateways will be used to make things easy for developers and allow simple connections to other technologies.
There's a set of APIs to help build an app quickly and really serve as a gateway to all these technologies that you're trying to connect into. And there's a way to simplify the robust and complicated lower level protocols as well, so that developers can talk over friendly REST APIs like they're used to.
Next tweet, Tim.
Well, no, actually, let me get this. Let me say something about this. This is from last week. This is recent, so that's a great find too. I didn't know. I haven't seen this, or it has been mentioned somewhere, but I didn't see it at least. So it's a great find again.
Great.
Next tweet. Yeah.
The Bank for International Settlements is using API gateways in multiple proof of concepts for central bank digital currencies. The Bank for International Settlements, the BIS, where Big Chungus is the boss. There's a lot of dot
Memes.
connecting.
Oh.
What?
I thought you were going to say memes about.
Yeah, there's also a lot of memes. Yeah, he looks like the Kingpin, man. It's from the Spider-Man franchise. Now he's an enormous man. Augustine Carstens is his name. And he's he's a very easy quote unquote target to make fun of, but he does really important things for the Bank for International Settlements, which is the central bank of central banks. There's a lot of connections between Gilbert and the BIS and a lot of projects, Project Dunbar and Project Intenon Lion Rock. There's links here. Follow these. Read up. It's about technical architectures, and it's about API gateways that are being used to connect the bank systems with the partier nodes. And I have no clue still what a partier node is. And I could have looked it up because I didn't know it yesterday either, but I forgot.
Yeah, nah, it's not too bad.
Yeah, and what you see here in the other image is technical solution for the system architecture. You see a layered system, layer 1, 2, 3. Where layer 1 is a blockchain ledger and smart contracts, layer 2 is the backend application, and layer 3 is the user interface. Underneath, you see again schematic representation of the banking system. It says central bank on the left top, and on the right top it says commercial bank. Then it says central bank UI, which is the user interface, and the commercial bank user interface. These are all layer 3. User interfaces. Those are connected with an API gateway to the backend services, which are represented by the API logic, LSM, wallet signing, and node management. And then you get to the that's the layer 2 backend application. Then you get through the smart contracts with the universal token standard, privacy, FX modules, and underneath there you see the layer 1 blockchain network, which are Besu nodes, validating nodes, and standard nodes. And the thing of note in here is the blue arrow, which points to the API gateway, which is obviously very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next tweet.
Yes. ODAP allows any network to run an API gateway, share assets, and build applications that interoperate across Web 2 and Web3. This will birth a number of gateway service providers, or GSPs, similar to ISPs, which are internet service providers. Today, Quant Network, #Quant, is the very first ODAP compliant SGP. And Gilbert has something to say on that.
So this is our way of establishing that mainstream adoption and creating this global ecosystem and this global network of networks where everyone can bring their own network. It could be private, it could be blockchain networks, it could be permissionless. And having the gateways, an ODAP gateway, you'll be able to access the rest of the network. And so for us, Overledger Gateway is the first ODAP gateway that's being built because we're at the forefront of that technology. There will be others later on, but we're the first out of the gate.
I spilled the beans on this earlier. I forgot that it was also in this thread. But yeah, this is Gilbert saying what I said earlier. Yeah, the future looks really bright. And token not needed. I don't see it happening. It's that would be such a terrible misrepresentation of Gilbert and everything he stands for. And threads, memes, and jokes aside, that will probably destroy a lot of his reputation for many entities. I think still, I mean, the token is adding extra security. That's what where most of the people make mistakes saying the token is not needed, because in many cases the token isn't needed. In many cases, utility tokens are just created to fund the company, but in this case, it actually adds, because the licensing, because the transaction cost, because the verification, etc., etc. Nothing works without the token. And yeah, if you do not know, feel, and understand that, then obviously I can understand that very well might be possible to simply eliminate the token from the process.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Okay, next tweet.
Overledger gateways give access to Overledger Network, OVN, providing scalable interoperability between any blockchain or legacy system. The OVN has also been designed to meet regulatory requirements for financial institutions, including KYC, AML, and the FATF travel rule. What you see here is an image reading universal interoperability, enterprise-oriented, and fit for future. I'm opening this now. If you're in the video, you can pause it and you can read it. We're moving on.
Yeah.
Next tweet says, Gilbert has a grand vision for the OVN, and there's been significant traction over the last few years. This thread won't dive into Quant partnerships, but reading Gilbert's Telegram comments should give you a good idea of the scope and scale at which Quant is operating. So I opened one. Gilbert, you see a screenshot here from Gilbert from the main community channel. You can look this up yourself. If you just look at this, like, yes, every client we're talking to has shown their interest in hosting OVN. If you Control F that in main, you can find the quote yourself. And he just says, yeah, this also nicely ties into ODAP. ODAP has immense potential and the support has been quite positive. Our vision is that other providers will also create their own OVN gateways and connect them to the OVN. Think the likes of Intel, Microsoft, etc. Not confirming they will mean these types of companies, as they all will be talking the ODAP protocol. They will interoperate, will be the first with our gateways, but there will be many more to grow the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Now here he's talking about our vision is that OVN is going to be the hub that connects the US, China, Latin America, Australia, UK, and Europe. So yeah, only the
world.
The North Pole and the South Pole are exempt.
Yeah, but those don't exist.
Huh?
There's this invisible barrier.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, and Africa is not named. But what you see, because this is already old, this is older. we have the US and Latin America and Australia and the UK and Europe. The only thing we're not absolutely 100% positive on is China on this one, and Africa in this case. We've had countries approach us to use OVN to enable a data marketplace for all their citizens to interoperate and transact identity and data domestically and across the ecosystem for cross-border transactions. We've done a lot of work with the Treasury and payments and have created our multi-DLT payment channels. Think of it as multi-chain lightning networks across blockchains. We've even managed to bring the enormous high gas fees down and reduce them by up to 93%, streamlining payments for all blockchains. If anyone wants blockchain faster payments, they can come to Overledger Network. I got excited and I still read the entire thing. I'm sorry. I love this. Now go to main. You can also search for individuals. Gilbert Verdian is actually still findable in there. Look up everything as written. It goes back to 2018, 2017, 2018, something like that. It's fascinating stuff. It will blow your mind. And you can also find the little Easter eggs that
the Easter bunny has left there.
Yeah, that Easter bunny has left there. ODAP enables the existing internet to, I heard on your that you wanted me to move on. ODAP enables the existing internet to plug directly into blockchains, paving the way for the internet of value and standardizing frameworks that will help Web3 reach its full potential. To read more about ODAP, check out the official IETF draft. Link is in this thread. I'm not going to post it under the video. I want you to open this thread and follow, like, share the shit out of it. Oh, demonetized again. The internet is now upgrading. We should start monetization so these jokes actually make sense. And Greg ends with, if you enjoyed this mini-series, please follow me at GregLunt27 on Twitter. I post research-driven digital asset content every day, including 1 to 2 weekly threads just like this. You can also like and retweet this thread to help bring new folks into this awesome community. So yeah, this is gonna reach.
Yeah, this is great stuff.
Yeah,
thank you so much for making this thread. Well, it just summarizes really complex stuff easily for most people to understand. And while I am in Quant for some time, I've done a lot of research, I still don't fully grasp ODAP, and threads like these really help me to kind of navigate this complex technical world that I'm not familiar with, because I'm not a developer, I'm not a coder. I'm just an ape trying to make money in the crypto space. Yeah, and threads like these really help me navigate it. So that is great, and it really it requires great skill to understand what's going on, but then also making that easily accessible for everyone by explaining what you see and what is going on. And yeah, that really has my respect. I think it should be mentioned. So we've done that here. I think we've been talking about this for as long as in the Dutch episode. We spent 50 minutes on it.
Okay.
If there's anything else, yeah, actually we've done it exactly at the same time frame as on the Dutch
That's
one.
pretty impressive, since we have been translating with it while we read, and usually Dutch is more fluffy.
Yeah.
Speaking wise than English.
Yeah, but we did more. Yeah. Anyways, is there anything you want to say about this, Jarno?
No, man. I love this research. I love how people love doing this, and I'm talking Greg in this case, but we also know that there's a bunch of others that just the tech guy on fire lately. And don't want to steal the spotlight from Greg for this video, but also look at Just the Tech Guy. We'll put him in the description. Can you make a note of that?
Sure.
Also check him out. He is on fire lately, trying to get even more in depth on stuff that is even more vague and obscure and behind the scenes than even this ODAP. But there are more people rising to the occasion, and you can expect a lot more from this community coming up. There's
There's kind of this rebirth of the community in the past, and without disrespecting them, because they are the OGs in my opinion. I mean, I'm talking about CryptoSec, Ghost, and some others.
Yeah.
They've really done the work. But it's great to see kind of this renaissance in the community of new people stepping in and taking over
baton
the
being
narrative.
passed on. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. I think it's really vital for a community to stay alive and survive in such a way.
Yeah.
And the momentum is building again. We're just waiting for more confirmation and a bullish market momentum. And I think that in its current structure, we are very well positioned to finally take over the crypto space in terms of engagement on social media.
Yeah, and there's also more coming with the community DAO getting a little bit more attention, a little bit more oxygen. We also have a bunch of people coming together looking to form panels for community AMAs. We're obviously also gonna give attention to that and promoting that. So yeah, it's looking really interesting, and I think the community is going to be thriving by the time we're going to hit the peak adoption. I mean, gateways are coming, and I know a lot of people are skeptical. Even a lot of the kind of quote unquote OGs. I see price targets that were being called by some of those people for last year that should be 1 to 2.5K. Now I hear people say I do not see it happen until 2030. There's so much uncertainty going on. Some people are losing faith, but there are also so many people that just know what is happening and know what is going on, and it's going to be an amazing year. And I think there's so much coming that simply cannot wait 3 to 4 years.
It won't be a year. It will be an era that was going to completely redefine how we view crypto. I mean, I think my argument here is that we've seen these seasons, right? So we have seen a DeFi season, we have seen an NFT season, and meme, and we have seen a meme season even. But what is going on here is not a season. It is a fundamental shift in the way we view the DLT space, and we will, with Quant, we are going to be right in the center of that adoption curve. And we've just seen the first tryouts. Like in the beginning of the internet, you had all kinds of functions, right? I mean, in the Web 2 days, the idea was that everyone was going to blog, right, and do stuff on YouTube and make like funny games. There's this YouTuber, I forget his name every time, but he's very interesting. He is, I'll look him up and put him in the description. I'll make a note about that. And he basically describes the Web 2 days. So that's like the early zeros, like 2000, 2005, also with the rise of YouTube and Facebook and stuff. And the entire idea behind YouTube was different than that. Now it's completely monetized and stuff. And just the type of effort that people really put into the internet was different back then. And I think we're going to see a similar shift taking place now. And it is already happening, of course. We've seen these first few applications, but it's going to drive a much more fundamental shift. And Overledger is going to enable that. I hope I'm not rambling here, but I'm just trying to point out that we have just seen the first instances of a complete paradigm shift into Web3, and it's going to be really exciting. And I think with Overledger, we are positioned right in the middle of it. I'll put the YouTuber and that stuff in the description. Sorry, it's just my brain not functioning anymore. At this time, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna edit it a bit. I want to show you guys this for a second. Thanks, Tim, for that.
Yeah,
free lesson. I really appreciate that. It's really cool. And what you see here is just a tech guy, and he's also known in the community. as M. He's a Corda developer.
Yep.
He knows his stuff. He made a thread, and it reads open source versus closed source software. And I'm not gonna do the entire thread, but it reads: this thread will cover the following topics: cost, service, innovation, usability, and security. He begins with open source, and he arguments why, factually, I find factually, why open source has its pros and cons, and then he moves on to the closed source bit, and he makes an argument for both of those. I read it. It cleared so much up for me, and I think this is really important stuff to understand, because man, we are living in a space where everybody's always screaming everything needs to be open sourced, and power to the people, and everything needs to be free, and eat the rich, and God knows what, and it's all opposite ends of the spectrum always. But there is so much nuance, there's so much going on. You cannot simply always open source everything.
No, you can't.
And I mean you can, but there are so many entities that don't want to buy this.
Yeah.
And or can't. He makes a very good case. We can look at this next week. Help me remember in this
Sure, we will
episode.
do that. Yeah.
But he makes a very good case for the costs that are forgotten when you go open source, and the expertise and stuff you need to have. It's quite brilliant. Give this guy a follow. Links in the description. Next week we're gonna have a stab at it in even more normal or worse English than he already puts it in. It's very understandable. Keep that up, dude.
The name of the YouTuber is Tom Scott, by the way. I'll link it in the description. I'll share the video. It's really interesting stuff. I can show you briefly for a bit. I'm not going to play it, but it's fun. It's really fun.
They were going to get demonetized. No, we're not monetized. Why do I keep saying
it's this video of Tom Scott, and it went pretty viral, so you probably know the video already. But as you can read the title, this video has 52,534,980 views.
Yeah.
And then the amount of views is exactly that. So the title already predicts the amount of views, and it's just an algorithm that he wrote. And it still functions to this day. The video was published on the 6th of April, 2020. And still runs. And in this video, he just briefly describes the way the internet has developed, and he kind of describes the applications that were on Web 2. As you can see here, there was this, when Google Maps became a thing, you had this game. It was called a Google Maps racing game. You could just drive your car on Google Maps, and people were doing it for free. And there were all kinds of applications also with Twitter. We had the time with Twitter before the bots entered the chat. And then the first bot on Twitter was the McCarthy bot, the communist hunter from the 1950s. And that bot tracked everything with communism in the text. And then we'd send tweets out with that, and it completely reshaped the way Twitter functions with all these bots you have now. It's completely reshaped companies. It's a really interesting watch. And also with the edits on Wikipedia, because Wikipedia used to be this free open source encyclopedia on the internet, and it turned out that it became. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. I was afraid you were lacking out for a bit. You were just
continue your Wikipedia story.
Yeah, no. It was this completely open source encyclopedia on the internet that everyone could edit. And now it's kind of a centralized thing where old gray men wearing glasses, being in their 50s and 60s, being white, they control Wikipedia nowadays. So you see this complete shift on the internet. I think it's a really interesting watch, and I would definitely recommend you to watch it, because if you understand those kinds of things, if you understand how those networks, in terms of their applications, how they shift over time, you can also see that similar kind of process with crypto. You can see that Doge and all those ape NFTs and stuff, sure, it's useless, but it is part of a broader direction that the internet is taking. And if you can somehow invest in that direction, you're probably right on the money. That's just kind of the brief argument I'm making here. Yeah, I think for me, this is kind of the episode. I put questions on Instagram once again, but the only 2 questions I got was when staking, literally.
No.
Yeah, and the other question was, can you talk about the price?
Fascinating.
Yeah, it is. And the other question was, let's talk about the price of QNT. Well, I don't really feel like we should be doing that because it doesn't have any value, literally. Yeah, are there any comments on the previous? I think there was a lot of engagement. So thanks to everyone for that. You guys really engaged with us, and I'm so glad to have that.
Yeah, and Tim and I have also been talking because we love you guys, and every interaction is appreciated. Yet we would love, especially for on the Instagram, if people would go through the trouble to at least look on the Quant updates page and see if you can find anything on when staking or when moon or is token needed. I am of the opinion, and I do not do anything with Instagram because I despise the Instagram and the Facebook and how it works and what it does. It's not for me. I am more of a long form type of guy, as you noticed by now. But Tim manages that together with Lexip, and they have addressed so much, and everything that I have seen of the questions that are being asked can realistically nearly effortlessly be found on their page. So my request to you is be better. Be better, be more eloquent. We know not all of you are native speakers. Try and bring some nuance into your questions. Maybe some more depth, maybe take a side step. I don't know. But most of the questions you ask, the information can be found. We are definitely willing to answer, because when gateways, no one knows. When moon, we also don't know. When 1K, at least 2030. And that are technically the answers that most of you guys asking questions about. And I think it's a shame of both your time and our time. Because I'm now talking 3 minutes on how I'd like you to upgrade your thinking and your questions. If I'm not talking to you, I'm sorry. But that could be much better spent on something in depth.
Yeah, we've also been talking about the content of Instagram and the content of all our other platforms, and Jarno has some constructive feedback. It's just my type of humor on Instagram, my dark sense of humor, I guess, because a lot of time it's cynical. But it's also humor that you need to understand. If you just understand my narrative, you know that I'm joking, and still people take me seriously. But we've just been talking about how we can actually shape that content and make it better. I think we're constantly striving to improve. But we're also reaching a point now on Instagram, at least for me, that we kind of hit this ceiling, so to say, or we had this invisible barrier of not exactly knowing which direction to go with content. And I'm not saying that we've run out of content, because that's definitely not true. We didn't run out of content because we are still making this podcast every week, and we still manage to talk about stuff. But the amount of easily accessible information is decreasing, because you need an increasingly growing amount of brain capacity to understand the deeper layers of quant, and that really takes effort. And it's really difficult to translate that back to a platform that really has an attention span of 10 seconds. So that's kind of the issue.
And it's because, as you noticed, Tim and I also speak off show and indeed
No,
helping each
This is
other.
completely random, by the way. We just
No,
meet every week here.
Yeah, but no, but
By chance.
we're trying to help each other level up, and
Yeah.
Tim is the social media guy. But what we do not want is to devolve into the moon boy price screaming open mouth kind of influencers that many people devolve to. I mean, I can understand that there are so many influencers that get sucked in to becoming sponsored and becoming moon boys, because coming up with content is hard. And if you have an audience that asks you to become like the rest, because that's what happens, and that there I have to give props to Tim. It is very easy to do what everybody asks. It is very easy to start shilling shit coins. It is very easy to just go with drum and bass music in the background and some charts and I don't know, playing whack-a-mole with monkeys or something, whatever they do. No, but it's just it is easy. You can just go sit and do that bullshit, and people will love it. And people will look at it and they'll share it. But it's not us. And
No, it's not the
producing
way
quality
we approach
content is
this.
important.
Yeah.
And so, but we're still looking how to level up. Obviously, this Quamfy show,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
we're also looking how to level up the Instagram game and the Twitter game. And we would love to get your input and your feedback, and obviously your questions. So let's help each other to make each other better and more knowledgeable. And we asked in the Dutch community if eventually they would be open for us to still keep it quant related. We're always going to keep it quant related, but maybe go into the diversification part of things a little bit for the future, because eventually we're all going to be multimillionaires. Probably most of us, all of us probably. I believe in six-figure quant. No, I do, but yeah. So you're going to need vessels to diversify and stuff, and that will come in the future, and the content will come when the company starts doing their thing and it becomes more community
Driven.
or driven, oriented. So there will always be content, but we love to hear what you guys want. We're not going to say we're going to do it, but at least we're going to use it as a feeding ground, as inspiration to make us all better. And
Exactly.
I have nothing more to say. I am done. I want to go to bed. It is nearly, it's 11:30 at night here.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I love you guys. Tim,
Yeah. And
love you. Thank you again for being here.
yeah.
Greg,
It's
love your work. Keep it up. Love to have you on the show. Gonna reach out to you in the next couple of days. If I forget, reach out to me.
Yeah. Thanks for listening again. If you're listening this on the day of the release, I wish you a great Friday and a great weekend. If you listen this later in the future, let us know what the price of QNT is. We're really curious to hear that. So yeah.
Tech crypto
thanks.
Eugene in the video.
Yeah, no. And QRC21. Stay quamfy.
Stay comfy.